here's Brody Brazil.
What I'm about to say and then suggest in this video might actually melt your brain. So have a seat, strap in, whatever you need to do, but this is going to be heavy. Have you ever considered a Coliseum site swap? Everybody says it's all about location for the Coliseum. It's not the right location. It's never been the best location. Well, what if we could switch the location of the Coliseum complex itself? That's going to be my suggestion. First, though, it's my fact. The Oakland Coliseum was actually built in the wrong place. Like it was designed to be somewhere totally different. That's renderings from the late 50s, before the early 60s, when they started to consider this Coliseum and the complex. But look at where the rendering was placed. Yeah, that's just west of Lake Merritt. It's right off the Nimitz. That's where Laney College sits today. You know, the whole Peralta site. That's where they initially designed and intended the Coliseum to be. Of course, look at the expansive views. Out towards center field, you get the Oakland Hills, you get Lake Merritt, what would eventually be downtown Oakland. They designed the Coliseum for a totally different spot than it actually sits today, and I'll explain how they came to that decision in just a second. Look at Laney College. Look at Lake Merritt from this satellite view. It's even better in real life and in person. Imagine if that is where the Coliseum had been for all these years, right there. Would we be dealing with shortcomings of the site, how it never expanded, how the neighborhood around it never changed, or it never changed the neighborhood around it? You built the Coliseum in an industrial zone instead of, where you knew downtown was and was going to get bigger over the decades. So instead of being right there, they chose what was called the Oakport location. So this was a $3 million mistake from the early 1960s. Via Hoodline.com here, on November 3rd, 1960, as the city started planning how to fund the construction, both sites, the Peralta site and the Oakport site, it's because that land was owned by the Port of Oakland, the Coliseum land, both sites were still in contention. The Peralta site was expected to be a bit more expensive at $20.9 million versus $17.5 million for the Oakport location. By the end of the year, however, the city council decided to proceed with the Oakport location. So after all these years, the difference in where the A's and the Coliseum and even the Raiders could have been versus where they actually were was decided by $3 million in the early 1960s. Almost hard to believe, right? In retrospect, that is what made the decision. So here are my two very far-fetched propositions. And I've been saying this one for a while, but now, let's really think about this. What's the reality of Laney College and the Coliseum site switching places? What if we could go back and reverse this decision from, is it now 60 plus years ago? So Laney College sits on about, call it 19 acres. Plus there's the baseball and football field on the other side of the waterway there. There's some parking lots to the west, kind of on the bottom of your screen. So it's at least 19 acres. Plenty to build a big league stadium, some amenities surrounding it, parking, infrastructure that you need. It's just south of or west of Lake Merritt. I'm all turned around here. Freeway access, the Lake Merritt BART station is literally a block away. So how would you do this? I understand people are saying, well, you can't tear down a community educational institution. No. I don't want to do that. Keep Laney College open. At the same time as you make this decision, here's how you do it. You start building Laney College, literally a brand new campus on the Coliseum site. North parking lot, south parking lot, doesn't really matter. Pick a spot. It too has a BART location, maybe even easier access for residents in the East Bay who attend Laney College. It's important. I'm not here to diminish a community college. I know that criticism is going to come. This is actually about giving Laney College a newer, bigger, and better campus than they have now. Rebuild Laney College at the Coliseum site. Give them at least 20 acres because you have 150 at the Coliseum site. That's how you do it. So you don't do any of this. You don't change anything at Laney College until their brand new campus is built at the Coliseum site. Then, when appropriate, you level the current Laney College. You start building your stadium there. So for a time, you will have the community college and the Coliseum coexisting for however long, a year or two, but you could start building Laney College next year on the Coliseum site. What about that? You could go back in time and reverse this wrong, make it right. Laney College benefits, a baseball team in Oakland benefits, the city of Oakland benefits, perfect location. There's not a lot of criticism about this spot. It's got everything. It's got BART, it's got the freeway, it's got some parking already. It could have some more. Right downtown next to Lake Merritt. The home plate will face east, right towards the lake, just how that 60s rendering used to be. Wow. I told you this was going to melt your brain. Now, the possibility of this, I'm not here to say. Okay, option number 2. What if the Coliseum site just jumped over 880? What if it just hopped the Nimitz, literally? See, and we're actually looking east up here, so it's not north and south, but obviously east side of the freeway is the Coliseum. What if you basically just, jumped it on the other side of 880 right there? I get it. There's a high-rise office building there. There's commercial and industrial buildings there. So things exist. This is not going to be easy. To buy the land, trade the land, eminent domain, whatever. But what if you could literally swap sites with the Coliseum? Because the current criticism right now is that it's isolated, right? Within the parking lot boundaries, people come in there, they leave, they don't do anything else. And maybe if you even built a ballpark village at the Coliseum site, I don't know, maybe it would just always be limited to that. It never has the ability to grow outwards. And maybe that's true. Could you still build something successful on 155 acres? Yeah, of course. But would it ever have the ability to truly branch out? I don't know. But what I'm saying is that if you go on the other side of 880, you're literally kind of on that island. I mean, look, there's a waterway to the south. There's a waterway to the north. You've got shoreline to the west. Look at the view that you would have here. This is from the east looking west, and you build a Coliseum there. You put some buildings surrounding it, maybe some parks to kind of, separate the freeway from the site. There's a tree. Give me one more tree. One more tree? Yeah, there you go. Right? Now you've got a waterfront ballpark, you've got shoreline, and I also realize there's sea level rise and there's mitigation, and now you're BC-DC all over again, and you're building on the waterfront. I get why that's hard. I totally understand that. But look at that site all of a sudden, and you still have BART close by. Obviously, you'd have to figure out how to get it from the Coliseum BART station and the Amtrak station across that site. You'd still have to have a thoroughfare. You'd also have to figure out what to do with Oakland Arena. Oracle Arena. You'd still have to figure out what to do with that. Still on the site. If you're really going to trade sites, you probably have to level that too. Or rebuild something newer and smaller on the other side. Again, take the site, flip-flop it. Why wasn't this ever built on the other side? I believe the Port of Oakland initially owned both sides of the freeway land there. Why did they choose the landlocked side? Again, far-fetched, not great on the possibility list, but a straight-up site swap for the Coliseum. Is some of that even possible? It's interesting, right? I mean, there's two options. Maybe we should have been thinking about these things a decade ago instead of now. Thumbs up down below. That'll help me out on this video. I really appreciate that. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so I can definitely see you back here next time.